All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another exciting edition of Two Men in Black and White. You hear that sound? It's the sound of Cracker Barrel cracking under the conservative pressure. You also hear that sound? That's the sound of the smooching coming from Travis and Taylor Swiftie. And then, ladies and gentlemen, wow, the madness continues. Once again, he's thrown out his famous line, "You're fired." But this time it's the only black woman on the Fed. That's strange. Right, it's the racism, stupid. Let's get into it. Brock Ganeles joins us now live from the beautiful confines of the Hudson River Valley up north of New York City. And, again, anytime we talk New York City, I just want to remind people that Donald Trump got 10% of the vote in his precinct, where he lived, where people know him the best, the most intimately, and they can't stand his ass. So now, let's get into it. Donald Trump trying to fire the young lady, the African-American woman on the Fed, the one remaining bastion of independence in this regime. What the hell's going on, Brock?
Well, I mean, Trump is trying to get the Fed. He wants to run the Fed, right? He wants control of all the decisions and all the money. So that's kind of what's going on, right? So first he threatened to fire Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed, and Powell kind of stiff-armed him and said, "You don't have the authority to do that." A lot of big business warned Trump, like, you fire the head of the Fed, this whole fucking thing could unravel. Like, we could go into a panic. So he's now trying to backdoor his way into, greater power. And of course, his target du jour is a black woman, because it always is. Whenever he can find that fight, he finds it.
Right. And
But she's fighting back. She's fighting back. I respect it. I love that she's making the stand. And really, I think she's going to fight him off, because he doesn't have the authority to do it. And I think he'll just turn his attention to something else after a couple of days.
Yeah, and this is, again, another opportunity for us not to talk about the Epstein files. But, this is the one area the Supreme Court has been bullish on, right? I mean, they've given him all these powers, but the Supreme Court has kind of stayed away from the Fed, and the Fed needs to be independent. I don't know what. Look, Donald Trump showed us how well he can handle major events and major situations with COVID, right? After COVID, nobody should want to see him in charge of any fucking thing, right? He botched that so bad that we should not want him put in charge of anything, anywhere, anytime soon, ever again. And now you want to run the Fed? You went bankrupt 6 times, dude. You don't know what you're doing. Again, you were saved by a television show. You're a game show host, dude. You're a game show host. Stay in your lane.
Well, he's too corrupt to run the Fed.
Exactly.
I mean, markets are starting to buckle. Markets are getting increasingly nervous and concerned because the irrationality of Trump is starting to seep in, right? First, they went and all kissed the ring and got their deals saved, and Tim Cook went in and gave him like a golden fucking, alarm clock or whatever the fuck he gave Grandpa to keep him awake. So they all played the game. They all loved the tax cuts. They all love that regulations are being rolled back. They all love that unions are being busted, right? All these things that are good for the owners of businesses. But when the instability tips over to being like total, mayhem, then there's no certainty. And without any semblance of certainty, you can't forecast. And they're losing their consumers. The customer is getting poorer.
Right.
So,
and that's the problem when there's no demand.
Starting to see some problems out there.
And that's the problem. When there's no demand, nobody's spending any money. Right? Hey, I'm scared to go in the grocery store because I'm scared to see the next high price that's going to blow me away. Things are ridiculous. Look at the price of used cars, not new cars. I saw a Cadillac Escalade just perusing around on cars.com for $145,000. Brock, it's nothing to see a 6-figure vehicle floating around. My parents paid 34 grand for their house in 1972. Now we're paying 150K
Yeah,
for an SUV.
I think my parents were like 22,000 in 1966 or something like that. Maybe it was 24,000. Yeah, I mean,
See, we got
it's
hit with
incredible. You know,
inflation.
they got the half
Yeah,
acre and the house, the garage, the whole kit and caboodle.
absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, look, there's problems there. Oh, side note, by the way, restaurant sales in DC were down 24% year over year. Home
Yeah,
sales were down 8% in July. Like nobody's moving anywhere because
no.
it's too expensive, right, to get the loan to move in. And then that obviously pulls through. That means people aren't moving into new homes and getting new furniture and new appliances and all the stuff that comes with it. It just the data, if we ever get real data again, just hasn't started to reflect what we're all feeling on the ground, which is just everything kind of slowing down. Less tourism, less homes being purchased, less cars being purchased, less big ticket items being purchased, less going in the cart at the grocery store because you can't
Yep.
afford as much. So it's just a little
Yep.
less of everything everywhere.
So what happens after the big beautiful bill kicks in? And everybody really starts feeling the pinch because if you got less already, right, and prices are going up on all your daily kitchen table items that you need, right? How are you going to afford Obamacare, right? What happens when people start losing their health care and have to try to get on Obamacare and try to get on one of these plans? What am I going to pay for? My medicine or my kids' soccer,
Yeah, and
right?
prices are up. I mean, we'll start talking about Christmas season as soon as we turn the corner on Labor Day, right? Once back to school is over, it's all going to be about Christmas. Because I was driving yesterday, I heard early stories already. They're like, it's a deal. Customers are looking for deals. Yeah, it's gonna be a tough environment. Look, Trump's an idiot. He wants to run more things. He wants his view of the world to be implemented everywhere and anywhere. But he's not a smart guy. He's not shrewd. He doesn't
Right.
understand the whole picture. So he's just gonna make a lot of mistakes. And we're 8 months in, and it's starting to feel, the economy's starting to feel the cracks. Society is already cracked, right? Society is basically broken. And the economy is the only thing that's kind of stitching us together right now. Economy rolls over, we're going to have a lot of
Hell is
unhappy
going to,
Americans. The
oh my
anger
God,
level is going to go through the roof.
skyrocket, right? And think about it, right? DC residents are already pissed off because they got the National Guard walking around and they got these freaking guns and they're patrolling areas that aren't used to seeing it. See, he thinks he's slick by putting them in Foggy Bottom, putting them in Georgetown, putting them in these places where they're not used to seeing heavy law enforcement. That scares white folks. That scares white folks. White folks don't want to see people walking around with guns while they've got holding their child's hand, taking them to the bus stop, going, putting their kids in the car to get in rush hour traffic out on 495, out on the belt loop there, the beltway there. They don't want to see that. That's pissing people off in DC.
It is, but they're selling them on being safer, right? And they even have like a survey, I guess, in New York where it's like that crime is down, but convincing people that crime is down isn't working, right? Because we hype the crime that does happen, right? There's such megaphones, racist megaphones, to hype any crime that does happen that everyone always feels like crime is going up, even when it's going down. And it's going down basically in almost every city across the country. I would argue, my dime store argument on that is because employment was so high.
Right.
People were busy,
Absolutely.
people were making money, people didn't have to turn to crime. Most people don't
Absolutely.
want to turn to crime. They don't want to risk being in jail or getting killed just to get by.
Brock, Brock, let me give you a cautionary tale. As you know, my son is incarcerated. He happened to share his living quarters with a young man who went into a dollar store, stole 3 or 4 items for his child. So baby formula, diapers, wipes, Vaseline, that kind of thing. I mean, maybe $50, $60 worth of items. And because he said he had a gun, he got 10 years. That's exactly the point you're making, right? If that young man had a job, if that young man had somewhere to go to apply for a job, you think he's stealing baby supply, baby food, baby formula, which by the way is not cheap. So it may have been more than 60, 70 bucks. But that's the kind of stuff that happens, right? What's my saying, Brock? White America catches a cold, black America gets pneumonia.
Well,
Right?
in our visuals, TV and movies, right, we glorify crime, right, as people getting rich on crime, right? The big heist, the big cartel, the big, drug dealing conglomerate where everyone's making a lot of money and it's like a good business, entrepreneurial
Right.
business that everyone's running. When most of it is done out of desperation and need, right? I mean, that's most crime is people trying to figure out how to get something or get by and get what they need. So yeah, it's all bullshit. It's a propaganda game. They're trying to sell white people on safety and that there's a need to have these troops in every city so that everyone can feel safer because everyone's being pounded with the fact that, oh, you're not safe, you're not safe, you're not safe. Oh, okay, so Trump has the remedy. Let's turn our army against our citizens. But
Right.
in a good piece of news, some ex-military veterans have started a sit-in in D.C., and they're, in essence, protesting and getting right in the face of their current National Guardsmen
Love it. Love it.
to, kind of, in essence, convince them that they're doing the wrong thing as active duty military in patrolling American streets and trying to coerce them, cajole them, convince them that they shouldn't be there. Still waiting for that first active, duty soldier to just
Right.
drop his gun and walk away. I mean, the ramifications and the downside of that could be pretty harsh. But
Right.
a movement's going to have to start with somebody doing it.
Right. And this is the thing, too. They'll respect that message coming from veterans, right? Coming from those who have served. And that's maybe where we see a chink in the armor. Maybe we break through and get through to some of these guys that, like, hey, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up, to terrorize my neighbors and to walk around here, passing out J tickets, right? Jaywalking tickets, right? Warning people about their garbage cans on the curb for too long. What? That's not what they need. No one has, and none of these reporters have said, hey, why aren't you over in Southeast? Hey, why aren't you over on Alabama Avenue? Why aren't you in the hot spots there, Donnie? What are you going to do? Go to Chicago next and walk the Magnificent Mile? Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, I mean, did you hear him today, Brock, talking about, I'm just a really smart guy. And, that slob Pritzker and I know how to handle crime. No, you don't. You don't know anything, dude. You are following the direction that people have given you. And you sit up there and... How does he have a press conference every day? How does he have press availability every day? He's not on the phone talking to world leaders. I thought
He
he was...
doesn't do anything else.
Exactly.
He
does
do the
nothing.
job. He talks the job.
Right. So where do we go from here? Can we hope that these sit-ins will grow by the veterans? Because Vets Against Trump has been around for a while.
Remember the military parade we had talked? We would have loved if General Milley or someone had gotten up and said, and we're going to shut down this parade. This is not what our military does. Okay, we didn't get that from anyone. Instead, we just got a shitty, boring parade that, and some subversive action from the troops of marching out of step and the like. And really, it was a big dud. And it was that event was a loser for Trump.
Right.
Right? But it wasn't a winner for the opposition either, right? Nothing changed. Right. So, we've always said that we think that the military, as a leader of the opposition to the white supremacy movement, would potentially get a unified, group behind them. Because the military has black, Latino, and white faces, they're as integrated as any aspect of America. And if they're out front, it might make it even easier for everyone else to align and walk behind them, that they could emerge as the leaders from the street. hey, maybe this group in DC has that person who can light that spark and create, the beginnings of a movement. And frankly, we need a leadership movement, right? We need some real leaders to emerge.
No doubt. And I keep, we've been asking, where are they? We've been calling for this military sit in too. And now we got the veterans moving, but we need folks inside the military to start, taking action, to start refusing these illegal orders. And I think part of the problem, Brock, is that, Trump always wins. We talked about this before, where people think there's nothing they can do. They feel helpless. Nothing we can do. Guy keeps winning. The guy's got $800 million in judgments against him. He hasn't paid a dime. Meanwhile, he's out here, raking these foreign governments over the coals and shaking them down for as much money as he possibly can. He just got the judgment thrown out for what, the 55 million, and I mean, the guy
We
keeps
just gotta
winning.
keep punching. We gotta keep punching harder. We're just not
Yeah,
punching hard enough. We just gotta keep punching harder. Look, the military is a multicultural, multiracial, men and women. It is as representative of America as any other aspect of our entire, society. It can lead in a way that many other places can't. We'll see if they can emerge, and light a fire somewhere. So, but we got to be punching harder everywhere else. I mean, I think it's good. Apparently, Comer and Ro Khanna are going to have a press conference, and they're going to have a bunch of Epstein victims speak. So they're going to get like a
perfect.
sort of a formal, official forum, government forum to speak. I mean, Trump's going to want to kill this James Comer. Does Comer think that Trump's not in the Epstein files, or is he? I mean, is he one of those people who truly believes it's just Bill Clinton and a bunch of Democrats, Tom Hanks and a bunch of Democrats? Because I'm
Right.
surprised how hard that he's going along on
With the
this
Democrats.
down
Yeah.
this road.
He's not the
Because
sharpest.
because apparently he really is against pedophilia, and
Right.
he feels strongly about it.
Right.
So, I mean, I'll be shocked when I see this event, but an event like that
That
will
could be
be
a game changer.
helpful to
Yes.
keep the pressure on Pam Bondi and Trump to stop trying to bullshit us with fake releases and fake videos
And
and doctored shit.
right. Right. And Brock, if you've heard from any of these survivors, it's stomach churning, right? And to imagine them as young girls being put through this kind of trauma, you know, it is absolutely disgusting.
They're emboldened and they're just laying it out there. You know how
Yeah.
hard it must be for them. They are just telling the story over and over. So yeah, bigger platform, more noise on the Epstein files. Just maybe chips away at Trump because it's just a hard. Those are hard targets for him to fire at. Like, how are you?
Right.
Like, what's his? He's always looking for an enemy. How's he going to make an enemy out of like teenage victims of sexual
Right.
assault?
Right.
I mean, he'll do it. He'll call them liars or whatever he's going to do. He'll do it. But
Right.
it's just a
It's not gonna
hard,
fly.
yeah, it's a hard
It's
battle
not gonna
to
fly.
win.
Yeah.
And no one's going to feel good about that shit when
No.
it's flying around.
No, not at
But we'll
all.
we'll see how heartless and how unsympathetic he is in the fact that he has no human connection. So
Right.
I hope he responds like the fucking psychopath that he is.
Right. And let's hope he goes totally off the rails and says something really stupid that you just can't hide from. And it brings people out in droves. Because I told you this Epstein thing wasn't going away. I mean, it cannot go away. Again, QAnon has nothing else. And again, these were little girls, right? And now Ghislaine Maxwell is about to get off, right? I heard some rapper today. I posted him on my Facebook saying that Epstein isn't dead. He's convinced Epstein ain't even dead. The conspiracy theories are floating around out there in hip hop. But, it's like, oh, he was a white rapper, by the way. So that kind of flies, on brand with the conspiracy theory and the white rapper. But hey, it was a little catchy tune, though. But this Epstein thing is not going away. It will be the demise of this regime because they're caught between a rock and a hard place. You can't just lie because again, Ghislaine Maxwell has you by the short and fuzzies, right? What are you gonna tell her? Well, it's all a hoax. Okay, I need a new trial. Overturn my conviction if the list is bullshit, right? Oh, no, it's not a hoax. You actually did do what you were charged with. I did? Well, let me tell you who's on that list, right? Like she's holding all the cards. She's holding all the cards. And
Yeah,
there's
they
nothing
can't.
they can do. And they've
Yeah,
already
because
put her.
the victims aren't going to say that Epstein was the only predator, right? Like they're naming names. Like actually, one of Epstein's neighbors was being interviewed this morning and naming names on people that she'd seen going in and out of the building, including
Really?
Trump, Clinton, and Prince Andrew. Yeah. So that was just like a
Wow.
man on the street interview that was going around. Yeah, all right, that's
Well,
not going to
that's
go
great.
away. I mean, we're just looking for ways to chip away at Trump, but we got to punch him harder. So the
Right.
pushback always has to be more aggressive than he's even come out swinging. So I assume Pritzker's going to come back firing because Pritzker's in that mode of wanting to be the alpha dog on the left, as is Newsom. And we know Wes Moore has entered the chat on that front.
Yeah.
So he's going to just keep swinging away.
Yep.
It just needs to come from more often on more
Right.
topics, more aggressively.
Yep.
And don't couch the language,
So what happens with the video from Epstein from the MCC? Remember the video with the 10, 15 seconds that's missing there that we found out had been edited in 4 different places? Where do we go with that investigation?
I mean, there's no one to take up the investigation right now, right? It's just they're just trying to bury it. This is why Trump's praising Pam Bondi so much. Everyone said, "Oh, Pam Bondi's in trouble." Bullshit. Pam Bondi has the safest job in
She's on
in
board.
DC.
She's
As
on
long
board.
as she is stonewalling, she is Trump's favorite.
Yep. Yep. And she's making it really, really difficult for America to believe in the rule of law. Again, Black America looks at Trump and says, look at this fucking guy. 34 fucking felony counts he's convicted on, and he gets to be president. Right? Black people get 34 felony counts. You're never going to see him again. Right? Not as a free man, anyway. I mean, it is ridiculous. He has shit on everything American. How does this guy call himself a patriot, and how does a third of the population get behind this guy?
I'm hoping it's still. I'm hoping it's still not a third. Look, he's out saying now that America really wants a dictatorship. Right now, he's starting to float that idea. He's going to start floating the idea. Look, the government's taking stakes in businesses, right? Like that is communism. That's what we basically rip all these other countries for doing when the government actually controls the business, right? Like that's how Russia basically operates.
Right.
Now, I mean, what the fuck is the government taking a 10% stake in Intel for? What the fuck is that? This isn't the financial crisis, and for temporary reasons, we need to backstop important businesses that could go out of business, could go bankrupt tomorrow, and we got to save the entire world, global financial system. This is just the government overreach. This is just Trump wanting more fingers in the pot and probably getting bribed left and right, lining his own pockets. It's
because that's what it's all about for him.
State.
Yeah, that's what it's all about for him. Right? We've known from the very beginning that, when he was running to begin with, all he was running to do was save his ass and keep himself from going to jail. Now he's running to enrich himself, right? And just in case he can't stick around after 4 years, he just wants, the money grab to be worth it. And that's what he's doing.
Let's flip it over. How is it possible that he's not going to want to stick around if he makes it in 3 years? He's going to tell the Republican Party, no, fuck it, I'm running again.
Yeah, if he's still around, he's definitely...
Who's going to say no? Who's going to say no?
Absolutely no one. I mean, everybody's afraid of him. Everybody's afraid of him.
Is the Supreme Court going to rule against it? I mean, is that what it's going to...
They'll find a way. They'll find a way to do whatever he wants because they're afraid of him too. At
Yeah,
least six of them.
there's no mechanism for forcing him to not run again.
Right.
So let's just assume that's what's happening.
And there's no mechanism for him to cancel elections, for him not to cancel elections.
You can just do it.
Yeah.
Okay, then it's
You're
like,
just
then
gonna
what?
do it.
Then what? We have armed forces in every major city. What the fuck are you
Yep.
going to do about it?
Right. Right.
And
who you gonna
that's
talk
where
to?
things are rolling to. That's what we're just watching every day. That's why we need to be protesting now before there's
Right.
troops in every city. Right? And that's why we need these military to like tell these troops not to do this, that it's un-American.
Right. And unlawful. You know what? Somebody's got to go to prison for this after this is done.
Unlawful, but there's no law enforcement
There's no one to
mechanism to
enforce
enforce it. The FBI is not going to do shit. DOJ is not going to do shit, right?
Right.
Jean Pirro's now in D.C. saying that she's not even going to prosecute people who carry weapons in D.C., even though it's against the law. Well, it's basically like saying, okay, I mean, might's going to make right. This is why we're tumbling towards civil war.
Right. Shit is crazy.
No one's minding, everyone, it's all a power play for MAGA. That's why we got to punch harder and fight harder in every opportunity. And you can't have fucking companies like Cracker Barrel roll over 24 hours after making a business decision because a bunch of fucking wacko white supremacist fucking idiots decided that the logo was a symbol of something that's important to them. I mean, what's behind it? Is it because that guy is an old white guy and he represents some sort of, plantation owner for them? What's possibly the emotional connection to the Cracker Barrel logo?
Right.
What could it be? What could it be? Except for some racist symbolism, what could it possibly be?
Except for the word cracker. I don't know what else it could be. Hey, remember, Denny's used to be Sambo's. Okay? So, when we got away from Sambo's, I guess that was the last, time we put just a blatantly racist name on some kind of business. But good Lord, the Cracker Barrel, you're really going to let the MAGA crowd influence your business decision?
I mean, is that their customer base? I guess, they're saying they listen to their customers. They're saying they listen to their customers and they're just happy that the customers care so much about the logo and that they have such an interest in their business. I think it's just total bullshit and typical bullying and typical corporate America rolling over and showing little to zero backbone on any topic. And that's why DEI disappeared in a heartbeat, right? Because so few companies would stand up for it. All right. So you started with this. You said we were going to touch on at the end. How's Black America view the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce engagement? Is it a big story in Black America?
I don't think so. I think they're more concerned with Travis balling. I don't know a lot of Black Swifties. I knew a couple Taylor Swift songs, but I didn't know they were Taylor Swift. So, her music has a little crossover action. It's kind of like Jay-Z and Beyonce. These are two of the biggest kind of cultural icons that have joined forces in a long time. Remember, Trav is a $100 million man on Amazon with his podcast along with his brother. Taylor Swift is a $1 billion entity in and of herself, probably multi-billions by now, and getting even bigger. So, it'll be interesting to see how they manage the pressure of, do they have a name or do they have a combo name like, Swift Elsie or I don't know.
I think Taylor's too big for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is Beyonce's too big for it.
Exactly.
Look, I think in this day and age where you cannot avoid politics, you can't pretend to not have a stance or be thinking about it. It affects everyone, families, people you care about. You can't say that you're some sort of neutral in America anymore. And I think right now, the Kelseys, right, Jason and Travis, have created this mini empire beyond the field, right?
Right.
I mean, Travis still playing. Jason's done a phenomenal job, and his wife, of like the branding and being able to play in this sort of like white every man, every woman lane.
Yeah.
And I just don't think you get to. I don't think you get to have that lane. Like, I
No.
don't think that lane is allowed to exist. And I
Right.
think they need to pick a side. I'm starting with Travis and his brother, Jason, need to pick a side and talk
And
about
go.
where they fucking stand on important issues. Because you can't just
Exactly.
keep fucking talking once a week or wherever they have their show and never fucking touch on an important issue. Like, what are you,
Right.
like the fucking the toy store of America, or like the
Yeah.
candy store? Like, you're just avoiding all the fucking havoc around you. Somehow you have a little bubble that, like, I don't know why
Yeah. You're
anyone gives a shit.
insulated. And
So,
and
yeah.
you can't go sit up in the box with Patrick Mahomes' wife and pretend like you're not, right? Because we know what she is, right? And she's married to a biracial. She's got biracial children, right? And we know she's a Trumper, right? Like your kids and your husband are not invited to the cookout. You're not gonna join us at the Cracker Barrel for the meeting. It's just not happening. So, Taylor's going to have to come out and do
Yeah,
more.
we didn't get to Taylor. Taylor has made political statements, and strong ones. Like, she's come out and been controversial
Yep.
in her sweet spot of the South, right? And like you said, you don't know many black Swifties. Like, her core fan, and there's hundreds of millions of them, right, are white
Right.
women.
Right.
And I happen to be a Taylor Swift fan. I think she's
Okay.
fantastic, great songwriter.
Right. Right.
Is and she's come out, right? She came out in her documentary, really, against, she didn't like the LGBTQ hate of the Republican Party, and she hates Marsha Blackburn. We know that.
Right.
And Marsha Blackburn's going to run for governor of Tennessee. And, Taylor tried to get, a get out the vote effort, so we kind of know where she stands. The question is she going to be more focused on hyping her album that's coming out in October, November, than her wedding? Or are we going to hear anything political from Taylor Swift? Because, like, me, I don't want anyone traipsing around society pretending like they're not in the fray. Like, everyone's got mud on them. Like, it's a mud
Right.
fight. Like, you're in it. Don't pretend like you're not in it. And, like, I have no tolerance for white people who think they're not in it because it
Right.
hasn't touched them. Like, because if
No.
you're not in it, then you're MAGA, in my opinion. Because you're complicit.
Absolutely.
You're complicit, and you're just rolling along with the atrocities. So, like, you were 1936 Germany, and you just wanted to go to the Olympics and have a good seat at the race, and see how things went, and you were fine. Your job was rolling along, and Hitler has some good ideas. Let's see how this plays out, guy.
Right. Good
I got
people
no
on both
tolerance for that
sides.
fucking guy, and that's white America. That's complicit, quiet white America in 2025 to me. So I don't respect the lane. I give people some patience to at their own time, but
Right.
I expect Taylor Swift to not pretend like we don't know where she stands on things.
Right.
And she better, I want to see her drag Travis Kelce's fucking middle of the road ass into the fight.
No doubt. No doubt. So let's hope it happens. Again, sports is the great unifier. Now, the Chiefs don't deserve, the Chiefs fans don't deserve a quality guy like Travis Kelce. I love Travis Kelce. One of my favorite players in the league. I just think he's a baller. But at the same time, he's in the locker room with what? 30, 35 African American men? Right? Like, he's been in the league a long time. He exclusively was dating black women for a long time. He had a reality show. I think half the contestants were black women. The woman he dated before Taylor Swift was a beautiful black woman. So, if that is who you are, why not say that? Why not say what's wrong with a multicultural America? Why not take that stance and let America know. Remember, the Chiefs fans are the same idiots that booed a movement of unity right
Yeah.
after George Floyd.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
don't
when we
challenge
heard
their
Chris
fans. They don't challenge
Collinsworth.
their fans at all. So they
Right.
love being beloved, but they don't challenge their fans to think about anything. How about you just come out and saying, "Look, I'm walking out on the field in a multicultural, multiracial environment. That's my society. I function in a multiracial. I thrive in a multiracial, multicultural society. I've lived in it since I was 5 years old, playing
Yep.
sports. I'm
Right.
comfortable in it, and you should be
Went to the
too."
University of Cincinnati. University of Cincinnati is in the hood. Okay? It's right in the cut. So he's comfortable around black people, right? And why can't he talk about that? You can't just sit up here and talk about the NFL and Taylor Swift and the engagement ring and the party, on your podcast with your brother. Meanwhile, your sister-in-law is out here hammering Republicans, right? Take a stand, right? And this is the only way we're going to have progress, and is if well-meaning white folks put it on display, right? They got to put it on display, and they've got to say, our friends that went to high school with us, right? You can't be straddling the fence. There is no fence here, right? You're either on the right side of history or the
On the
wrong
wrong
side of
side.
history.
Look, shit, at this point, we're not even talking about progress, right? We're
Right?
trying to stem
We're
we're
just
trying to stem the tide of rolling back to the 1830s, right? Like Trump is like a snowball going downhill, like rolling down, like, oh, we thought he turned back the clock 50 years. Now we're realizing he might
no,
want to turn the clock back 150 years, right?
exactly,
Maybe
exactly,
225, right?
right. Jillian
So
Michaels doesn't mind.
yeah,
Shit,
he doesn't mind it.
we're on the
So like
Titanic, bro. Finding
I
out
mean,
these. Go ahead.
let's sort. We're gonna have to. We'll sort out progress after we fucking have stopped the backward steps, right? We can't even take
Hello.
forward steps right now. We got to stop fucking
Right,
getting steamrolled, and that's where everyone has to step up, and
right,
that's what gets me back to the Ed Sullivan thing and back to my mantra about how you don't have to be a civil rights fucking leader. Like, just be a decent human being and recognize the shit going on around us and say something now because there'll never be a now ever again. Like you're always going to be judged on who you were right now.
right, right. All right, bro. We're out of time.
Okay, yeah, we went over again.
Yeah, right. We'll wrap it up this time, but hey, let's rack it up and do it again tomorrow.
All right, Mark, always a pleasure. Talk to you
All right,
tomorrow.
buddy. Yes, sir. Peace.